Hello and welcome to another episode of The Average EV. Today I'm bringing you my 1-year ownership review of my 2024 Chevy Equinox EV 3LT front wheel drive. Let's get into it. Hey everyone, before this video gets started, I wanted to say two things. First off, it is officially 3 years that The Average EV has been around, and I want to thank everyone for being a viewer and supporting the channel. Honestly, just tuning in every week to every episode means the world to me, and just thank you so much for being a part of this, and I can't wait to see what the next year holds for us. Second, this is a pretty long video. It's about an hour long. I've went ahead and made chapters for it so you can go to what you're interested in. There is a fairly long portion that is driving and Super Cruise, so if you're not interested in that, you can go ahead and just skip the Super Cruise section and the driving portion, and that cuts a big amount. But I wanted to kind of share my whole experience, everything about this car, give you all of my impressions so you know exactly what I think about this car, and hopefully it can help you make your decision, feel like you can make an informed decision. So thanks again for watching, and let's get to the video. All right, everybody, so I have now had the Chevy Equinox EV for actually a little bit over a year by a couple days. We were just on a road trip and I couldn't shoot the video then, but now I have time to. And we are at 32,000 plus miles. And honestly, there haven't been that many issues. I will talk about the couple minor issues. If you've been following my channel, you probably already know about them. But honestly, this has been a pretty easy and enjoyable 1-year ownership. There are good things, there are bad things, and in this video, I'm gonna kind of dig into all that. And I just want to give you my perspective of being an owner and the things I've noticed and what I like and I don't like and things that bother me and haven't. So what I'm gonna do is start with the outside, then we'll get into the inside, the infotainment, the driving, and we'll talk about a bunch of other things. So I hope you all join me in this video as we talk about the 2024 Chevy Equinox EV. Okay, so we're gonna start off by talking about the outside of the vehicle. So first off, I love the styling. I think it's really sporty and edgy, a little futuristic, but still kind of unassuming. I don't think it looks too EV-ish, so a lot of people don't really think it's an EV. It just kind of looks like a new looking Chevy, but I absolutely love it. I love walking up to it every day, and honestly, I wouldn't change a thing about the way this thing looks. Next, with the tires and the wheels. First off, with the wheels, they're 21 inch and they have a pretty narrow sidewall, which is fine. I think I would prefer a little bit thicker so I have a little bit better ride, but that's not the end of the world. It does give a nice sporty look to the tire. Additionally, these tires are the self-sealing, so they're a little bit more rigid, which you can also feel on the ride, but it's not too bad, and I've definitely gotten used to it over time. These are the original tires with the car, and they have 32,000 miles on them. They still got plenty of tread. Probably looking at changing them around wintertime, adding some all-weather tires. Definitely looking at a couple different brands as to what I'll put on. I'll let you all know in the future. Now, moving on to the manual charge port. I love that it has a manual charge port. I've seen the Blazers that have the automatic charge port, and they've had a lot of issues with that. They don't close all the way. I've actually seen someone with their this flap on the outside. I've seen the charge port while they're driving on the Blazer go whoop, 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 and this just closes, looks good, easy to use. I hate this, wish this would be like a little pull down flap like some cars have, but you can't win everything when you're looking at a really affordable EV. So while we're here talking about the charge port, I thought this would be a good time to talk about charging. And the charging is not great, but it is also not terrible. And the biggest issue is the fact that it has some cooling issues in the summertime. Cooling issues all the time, but it's way more pronounced during the summer. So during the winter and like fall, I was seeing pretty consistent charge times, especially on Tesla Supercharger network, of 36 to 40 minutes, which is not too bad. You need to make sure you precondition the battery, but get a pretty consistent charge time. In the summer, we just went on a road trip from Maryland to California, California back to Maryland. Be on the lookout for all those videos on the channel. but we came across so many issues with the thermals. It was overheating and adding 15-20 minutes to our road trip time. And that doesn't seem like a lot, but when you add that up over 2,800 miles, it starts to get really frustrating and annoying. So a lot of 2025 model year owners and also some other like Blazer and Lyric owners have received some updates, and they're saying they're not seeing issues. I have not had the same experience yet. I'm hoping that some updates can come out to fix the charging performance, because if they could get the cooling dialed in, I think honestly for a family, 36 minutes, 37 minutes is not the end of the world. And I've done some calculations. I think they could probably get it to 34, 35 minutes if they have the cooling completely locked in. So if you're someone who wants to travel really fast and wants to charge fast, maybe lives in an apartment and doesn't want to spend all their time at a charging site, this might not be the car for you. But if you're going somewhere, you know, it's a Target, Walmart, and you have to dwell there for a while and you don't mind charging, getting all your stuff for the week and doing that every week, then that could work for you too. Everybody has different palates and they have different tolerances. And so just realize what you're getting into. It's going to take, going from 10 to 80, about 36 to 42 minutes in the summer. It could take all the way up to 50 minutes if the car is exceptionally hot. I just want to be really honest with you all about the charging. Do I think it's the end of the world? No. Is it still better than a lot of the other slower charging EVs like the Kona and the Niro and the BZ4X? Absolutely. It's way better than all those, but I have to keep it real. I have to be honest. It's definitely a little bit of an issue. All right, and to wrap up the exterior, I can't help myself but talk about the auto liftgate. The auto liftgate is so sensitive and it goes off when you don't want it to go off, and it's really annoying and frustrating. But there are some times when I actually need it and I never know when that is, so I just have to leave it on all the time. I'm gonna see if I can give you a little demonstration of how sensitive it is. So I'm just gonna walk by the car, and of course it doesn't work. This happens all the time when on video. I'm telling you, everybody, I'm not lying. But anyways, it's very sensitive. You can ask my wife, you can ask other people that own the Equinox with auto liftgate. It is really sensitive. See, it's not even going at all. But anyways, I'll go up and lift it up to give you the effect. There it is. Sometimes I find myself like running past the back of the car so I don't set it off. It's actually kind of funny. But whatever, it's not the end of the world. It's okay. I wish it could be a little bit less sensitive, but you know, I'm kind of grasping at straws, I guess, when it comes to complaining about an auto tail liftgate when I could have a manual liftgate. And maybe, honestly, I would probably prefer a manual liftgate, but maybe, I don't know. That's just me. All right, so while we're back here, we're gonna talk about the rear. So I think it has a ton of great space, perfect for small families. We took a road trip, like I said. We didn't have to use a car top carrier. We were able to fit everything in the back here and then in the front passenger seat for our trip, which worked out great for us. We could have put our carrier on top and had way more room inside. Honestly, we may not even had to fill the back at all, but whatever. I wanted to have the box off so we could be as efficient as possible, but we have plenty of space back here. You can see I have my Best EV Mod floor mat, which I've actually liked. You can tell I don't clean them, but I have cleaned them before and they do clean nicely. I like that it has this lip for liquids or anything like that. There was a situation where I had a cooler back here and I thought I hadn't closed the tab, but in my head I'm like, it's okay, there's a little bit of a lip, so hopefully the water didn't get around too much. Then down here we have that subfloor, plenty of extra space, and there is the charging cable. That's where I tend to keep it, just because I do like to put things in here. Sometimes I actually put like cold items from a grocery store. It's not a cooler by any means, but it seems to keep them a little bit cooler. I don't know, that's how it works in my head. And then we have the seats, which I rarely use, but I want to get into camping a little bit, so maybe there'll be more of that. But they go down, not completely flat, but I imagine, actually let me see, if I were to come around here, and if I were to lay on this, it'd probably go down a little bit with me laying on it. So yeah, and has the tether for the ISOFIX, so great for families. And then here is a little cutout where we put different stuff there. I just have a kite. You can do sorts of different things. There is an option for a, whatever you call it, rear screen cover, and then a load box, or whatever you want to say here. I like to just have the cover, but then it doesn't completely cover everything. And allegedly they say they want you to have the cover and the storage bin in combination, and then you can't see underneath of it. So I don't know, whatever, that was their choice. I'm sure it ended up having to do with how this kind of slopes back and there wasn't much else room to put stuff. I don't know. Maybe they could have had it where you could put it here. I don't know. So there's that, but lots of tie downs as well that you can use, and 12 volt. Sorry, you can't see that. There you go, 12 volt, which we actually did use on our road trip. Let's talk about the rear space. I find there to be a lot of rear space. Yesterday, my son and I went to Buc-ee's and we ate in the back while the AC was on, and there's plenty of space for me to sit in. Let me pop in here. My you have to excuse me, my 0.5 is kind of being weird right now. I think I like burned some pixels out when we were at the Gateway Arch. But look, I have, this is my seating position, and I have at least 3-4 inches. I can put my feet forward. I'm very comfortable. I took a trip to New York with some of my coworkers, and it was me in the front and then a passenger and then 3 people in the back, and everyone said they were really comfortable. So really nice back here with the space, and functionally no one's really had any major issues with it. And there are the heated seats, so they were able to take advantage of that. And the charging ports as well. The vents seem to do a decent job keeping it cool back here. A little bit better than our ID4, but it would be nice to have maybe one more somewhere else. But in general, this car cools itself off pretty well. While I'm back here, this is where my son's seat, we actually just transitioned to a booster seat. But this is where his booster seat goes. Prior to that, here we had the ISOFIX. And there are 2 ISOFIX, so you could put 2 car seats in here. And then there is the top, let me see, tether, which I already showed you all anyways. So yeah, really nice back here. And then there's this, which obviously I drive a lot, but my wife hasn't used it much because usually this space is blocked by something else, but you can put your arm down, put some drinks. And it's a really functional space, very spacious. And I think just by virtue of how wide this car is, it just allows you to kind of sink down, feel really comfortable, and enjoy the ride. Moving up to the front, here's my seat. Now you can see it's definitely kind of dirty. I have cleaned it, but that's kind of is what it is with this light. You can see the back here, it's a little dirty as well, so maybe one day I'll really go at it and get it clean. But it's a car, you live in it, that's what happens. You can also clearly see where I rest my arm. So I promise I do shower, but it just gets a little dirty. And here as well. So if you're considering getting this Sky Cool gray material, it is a little bit tougher to keep clean, I would say. Not the easiest, but you know, it does look nice, especially if you don't look at underneath where you sit or where your back is. Anyways, moving on. It seems like the EvoTex is holding up pretty well, except for it looks like it takes some color from my blue jeans a little bit at times, but I don't see any wrinkles or anything like that. The bolsters seem to be doing well, holding up nicely, and I like the bolsters as far as comfort is concerned. So yeah, the seat's holding up very, very, very nicely. And additionally, these are actually ventilated seats, which I absolutely love, and I don't know if I can live without now. These are power adjustable, as you can see here. I forget all the ways, but there's many ways. I can get it pretty comfortable for myself, and on our road trip, I had no back pain at all. And then to go on, once you set your settings, for at least my trim, there are memory seats here. And you can do 1 and 2. And you can also do a exit position if you'd like to, where it can be a little bit easier to get out of your car if you have this set up. And position 1 will latch on to key fob 1, and position 2 will latch on to key fob 2. So that's nice. If it's 2 people use a car, it'll automatically change when you get in the car, which I and my wife enjoy, although she doesn't drive this too much because she really does enjoy her ID4. Moving into the car, first I'm going to talk about the climate because it was really hot outside. And you can probably hear it blasting, or maybe you can't, but it is going really hard right now, cooling me down, and I've never had a complaint about the climate. So you can access the climate here on the screen if you want. I almost never find myself accessing the climate here, but there is one cool setting which I use since I drive this car a lot by myself, and you have to access it through here. There actually is another way, but this is how I access it. You click on the gear, and then down here it's called Eco Climate. So Eco Climate will only do the climate for the driver, basically. and it will not do the climate to the back of the car, save a little bit of energy. What will happen is every time you get into the car, and let me make that message pop up again, this message will pop up every single time, and you can either not touch it or click turn off if your family's in here, and then it will turn it off and it'll have climate to the whole car. So that's a really nice feature that I like, and I wanted to show you all that. And then obviously here I enjoy having the cool ventilated seats on startup. They don't always start up, but when the car thinks you need it, if it's too hot, it'll pop the ventilated seats. You can see it did here for me, has the ventilated seats going. And then here's the auto fan speed medium. This is what I have it set to. I'm gonna turn it to high here if you can hear the difference. A little bit louder. It seems real aggressive to me, so I usually have it on medium, and that's plenty fine as far as keeping me cool. And like I said, I don't use the on-screen climate a lot. I usually just use the buttons down here, and you have driver climate, passenger climate. You can change the fan here, but I almost always have auto set on, and that's kind of how I live my life personally. Then you got these vents, which are nice, and then these turbine style vents, I've actually grown to like them. I didn't like them at first, but I've grown to like them. Just like this blue color, I didn't like it at first, but I've grown to like it. Before I dig too much into the infotainment, I do want to get a little bit into that and give you my thoughts and opinions. I did want to mention, I like the storage for the most part. I wish the glove box was just slightly bigger. It's okay, but I wish there's a couple more things I wish I could fit in there. And then the center console is nice, but I wish it was just like a little bit bigger so I could fit a couple more things. I like the underarm storage, whatever you want. The center console has some lower storage. I actually do like that, and that's where I keep all my charging adapters. And if you had like a purse or something, that's a really great place. I think you could throw your purse, but just maybe a little bit more storage. Not the end of the world, honestly, but I like to keep a bunch of like gadgets and stuff in my car, especially for videos, and I just don't have a place to put everything exactly to keep them hidden from sight. So that's all I really have to say about the in-car storage. Now I'm going to flip the camera around and give you kind of my impressions about this infotainment system. All right, so here's the infotainment system. I actually love it. I absolutely love it. I know this might be a controversial opinion, and a lot of things people might not agree with me, but I do like it. It's super snappy. It goes to whatever I want. Just want to show the surround view camera. I love that feature too, but that's not what I'm talking about now. It's just so snappy. It goes to things really quick. And that has been a really enjoyable experience for this car. I also think the size is great. There's some apps where I feel like it could utilize the space a little bit better, but you know, not the end of the world. At times there have been a few weird like glitches, bugs, like the screen looked a little weird, but they have all cleared for me. Put it down in the comments if you've had the similar situation. But since the last 2 updates I've had with this car, I've had no infotainment glitches at all. It's been absolutely perfect and, you know, error-free, bug-free, whatever you want to call it. I do want to get into some controversial topics. So here is Google Maps. A lot of people love Waze. I loved Waze. I never used Google Maps prior to this car, and I actually enjoy using Google Maps. I watched a video recently of someone with an Equinox saying they really don't like Google Maps. I don't completely agree. One thing I want to mention, which is a feature that a lot of people like about Waze, is that it has like, if there's something in the road that pops up, or if there are police on the road, or if there is a slow in traffic, that all happens in Waze. Well, guess what? Google actually pulls all the same data from Waze, directly from Waze, and you get it in Google. And you can report stuff in Google as well right here. Okay, if I can click it, there we go. I missed it. The same thing. So if that's what you really like about Waze, it's in the Google Maps and works well. And what's nice about using the Google Maps in the car is that it integrates all the EV data, the state of charge, the battery, you know, your usage, and it gives you a relatively accurate state of charge on arrival. I found in the summer it tends to be way too conservative and says you're going to get there at like 8%, but you actually get there at 18%. In the winter, I found it to be pretty spot on. So that might be a little bit controversial. Additionally, another thing people talk about, I guess when it comes to Apple CarPlay and Android Auto is what I'm getting at, is Spotify. I think the Spotify app is fine on here. I will be honest, and you can actually see it now. Sometimes like like the menus overlay, and that's annoying, and I close it out, open it back up, and it tends to go away. But that is a little bit of an issue with Spotify, but it works pretty well. And honestly, if you don't like using Spotify on here, you can just use it from your phone with the Bluetooth connectivity, and that is fine. Before I flip and talk about CarPlay and Android Auto, I do want to show the Play Store has a bunch of like weird apps that I won't use. I am waiting, as I think a lot of people are. It was hinted at that there will be video options eventually, so when the car is parked, you can watch video. I think that's a great idea and will be really nice. Or I am looking into getting into car camping a little bit, so I could watch some videos while I'm car camping. That would be a nice little touch. So let's go around, flip the camera around, and I'm gonna talk about the elephant in the room. All right, so let's talk about the fact that this car doesn't have Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. I'm gonna be honest off the top, just from a consumer perspective, I think it was a bad choice, and I think it looks even worse when the early Lyrics had them. I think they might still have them. Comment down below if I'm wrong. But the early Lyrics definitely had Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. And then all of the gas cars still have CarPlay and Android Auto, but then their counterparts, same model years, don't have them. I just think it's weird, a weird choice, sends a weird message. It's probably about data. I think Chevy should probably change their opinion about that and give us Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. That being said, after using this infotainment system, I have no urge to use CarPlay or Android Auto. I think the system works great. I've really grown to enjoy Google Maps, and like I said earlier, I was a huge Waze fan, and I enjoy using Google Maps, and has all those features from Waze and the notifications from Waze that I really loved. The one thing that doesn't affect me too much is I don't use a ton of the Apple ecosystem apps that you would use in Apple CarPlay. So I don't use music, I use Spotify. I never really used Apple Maps. I always used Waze. And podcasts, I did use podcasts a little bit, but I haven't been listening to a lot of podcasts lately. So when you don't have Android, well, I guess Apple CarPlay in that instance, and maybe there's some similar things for Android Auto, you can't download from the Google Play Store, so then you do have to use your phone, which maybe could be a little bit of an annoyance, but I think it's probably not the end of the world. So if you really want this car and you're saying that CarPlay or nothing, I really have to ask you to reconsider that. If you really enjoy the car and everything about the car and it's all about Apple CarPlay, I don't know if that's the best reason to pick or not pick a car. Obviously, you're entitled to your opinion totally. Like, I'm not telling you you're wrong, but I think that this infotainment experience is better than CarPlay, just from my perspective. And I would say give it a chance. Maybe when you go do the test drive, see if you can connect your phone and see what the experience is like to use the Bluetooth. I'm not sure, honestly, how many apps are available in the demo mode, but test that out, see if you could use the Spotify, try the Google Maps, do some routing and stuff like that. See how it works. But I mean, you can trust me if you want. Like, I like it. Like, for navigation, it's so great. It automatically plans all the chargers. I don't have to think about it, especially if you're a new EV driver. You can get into the car. This is where I'm gonna go, and it gives you a pretty good plan. There's a couple things I think you should adjust to make it a little bit more accurate. I put that in other videos. I'm not gonna make this a 7-year long video. It's still gonna be pretty long, but I don't know. That's just my opinion. So go test drive it, try it out, see if it is really that big a deal whether or not you have CarPlay or Android Auto. If I'm being honest, in my experience with the ID4 and the Kona that had Apple CarPlay, I like this better. And I had CarPlay, I think we even had CarPlay for our Nissan Rogue before that. So I've used CarPlay for a really long time, and I still like this better. So that's my opinion. Please don't hate me. I'm just being honest and give you my perspective. So yeah, that's it. Enough controversy. Let's move into some other parts about this car. All right, now I've went ahead and flipped the camera around, go over a couple things here. I really love the driver display. This is the one I tend to use, if I'm being honest. Sometimes I've actually gotten into, let me show you. this new, where I'll go north up on here. I'll have that. And then over here, I'll run the map. And that's, I think Walter from the Network Architect told me about that. I actually kind of like it. It works really nicely and gives you really good perspective of where you're going. But most of the time I do end up with perspective. And I have this set up here. And to be honest, this mode's fine. This mode's great. This one I don't find very helpful, but maybe you do, because basically it's for when you're using adaptive cruise control and super cruise. And then this one, I think is kind of a waste of real estate. Maybe if you really need to cleanse your mind and get everything off the screen, but I don't know. I'm not a big fan of that one. Now I wanted to talk about adaptive cruise. I am going to do a little driving impression and tell you all my thoughts about that on the road, but I want to talk about this so I can, think, because it's a little bit harder to talk and drive. But I like the adaptive cruise control. You can turn it on and off here. You can see the icon pop up there, go away. So if you see that, it's on and ready to be used. You pull this down and that'll set it. It won't set now because we're obviously stationary. This will cancel it out, which is nice. And then this is the Super Cruise button if you have Super Cruise, and obviously this is Super Cruise if you have that. And I enjoy it. Oh, sorry, one more thing. And this is lane adjustment for adaptive cruise as well. But anyways, I enjoy this system. I think it works really well. I think that for the most part, keeping track of the car in front of you and having a really natural slowdown when you come to slow is great. Obviously, if there are cars already stopped and you're coming up to already stopped cars, you need to use the brake yourself. It doesn't quite catch fast enough, unfortunately. But in all other driving situations, it's worked out really nicely and I enjoy it. I do wish I had lane centering. I know that's also a little bit controversial. I can drive the car. I'm capable of driving the car. It doesn't have lane centering, so I do it all the time now. It is just a nice little added feature. And if you've had lane centering, it just takes a little bit less thinking. It makes it easier to focus. And also, in my perspective, I think it makes driving safer because now I can pay attention even more instead of having to worry about constantly modulating the wheel. I can focus on the road and see, and where I live, there's a lot of deer, so I can pay even more attention to the deer that might be on the side of the road, but that is my opinion. And then Super Cruise, so I'll just show how you activate. You click here to activate it. A white icon of that will pop up here, which means it's available. You click, it'll be blue until it locks in, it'll be green. This will be green. And then if for some reason it were to disengage, everything starts to blink red. Your seat actually vibrates a little bit, which I think is very helpful. They do everything to get your attention. My one thing I wish they could do with Super Cruise is if they just gave you a little bit more time. So pretty much once it goes red, the car starts to slow down and you've got to put your hand back on the wheel for it to get back up to speed. I wish it would it'd be red for a second, maybe give you like 5 seconds, and then you can get back and have a little bit smoother transition from going from Super Cruise to not Super Cruise. But generally it's a very nice system and I do enjoy using it. I did want to talk about a few weird things I've noticed with Super Cruise lately. I don't know if it was because of an update or what it was, but first thing, there's like some routes where I know it has Super Cruise. I've used Super Cruise there before, but it won't show up at all the whole time I'm driving on it. And my cameras are clean, everything. I've done everything to check. And then like I'll come back the other way and Super Cruise is there the other way. Almost like it thinks I'm in the wrong lane. To kind of add on to the maybe it thinks I'm in the wrong lane theory. I've been on a highway where I'll be in the right lane and it'll let me auto lane change to the left lane, but then when I'm in the left lane, it won't let me auto change to the right lane, where it almost thinks I'm gonna go into the shoulder. Just some weird things. Or sometimes when I'm in the middle lane and it'll say Super Cruise ending because you're on an exit ramp or whatever when it's one over. So just some weird things there with that. Not sure, like I said, if that was an update or not. And it's just weird because it's inconsistent. Like it doesn't always happen. So yesterday, the route I drove to the gym didn't show Super Cruise going there, but showed it coming back. But today it was both ways. So I don't know. Really, really strange. I don't know. Generally, like I said, it does work, but some little weird things. So there was an update for Equinox that has not been pushed out to my car yet. That was for like GPS dropping out, so maybe that is the issue there. Not too sure, but I don't know. Wanted to let you all know about that. So one thing I wanted to talk about that I don't think a lot of people do with GM, and actually Ford does a good job with this too, but with GM, they really want to make sure you have places to charge. So first they started with working with EVgo, doing that kind of experience there, putting those chargers in. Then they started doing the Pilot Flying J EVgo situation, GM Energy thing, where now you can pretty much drive anywhere across the country and use Pilot Flying J. A little bit expensive, but you can get across the country using that network for the most part if you would desire. And then recently there's a deal with ChargePoint where they're dropping in ChargePoint units across the country. I don't know all the exact places, but that is a nice little touch. And then of course the cherry on top is IONNA. They're a founding member of IONNA, where 8 auto manufacturers came together to create a charging network and provide a really wonderful experience. IONNA is spreading rapidly. They're looking on pace to be really close to their goal of 1,000 charging ports by the end of this year. They should be pretty close, if not maybe a little bit above, but that is going to be incredible. Once that network is completely built out, you're going to have so many places to charge. And the best thing with, at least with EVgo, Pilot Flying J, and then IONNA, is you have plug-in charge experiences. So technically speaking, IONNA actually has plug-in charge, and that works really well. I've showed that on my road trip. So if you haven't watched it, although I guess only one episode's been out, a bunch more episodes will be out. But go ahead and watch that road trip. I used the plug-in charge several times when we used the IONNA network. And then on EVgo, it has Auto Charge Plus, which is the same concept where you plug in and it automatically charges. It's just a little bit different on the back end on how it works, but it gives you a really nice experience as a driver. And the other big thing I want to talk about is the fact that they landed the deal, as did Ford and now many other auto manufacturers, with Tesla to use the Tesla Supercharger network. It is just bountiful. It can be annoying to use at times. It can be hard to use at times just because of the dispenser placement, but it gives you so many reliable chargers to use all across the country if you desire to do so. It's always a better experience to use the native plug, the CCS plug, but to use adapter, go to a Tesla charger, plug in, you know it's gonna work. It activates super fast, and typically Tesla tends to be the cheapest. It was just such a wonderful job GM did making sure that they were a part of all those auto manufacturers that signed up to use the Tesla Supercharger network. Have your opinions about Tesla or whatever. I still think it is nice that GM made a strong effort to provide more charging for their customers that we can take advantage of. Now, these are some questions I'm sure people are wondering. After a year, what kind of maintenance, what kind of issues have you had? I'm going to talk all over them real quick. So first off, as far as maintenance is concerned, it's an EV, so there's not a ton of maintenance. Eventually I'll have to get some fluids, I'm sure, flushed and whatnot. But at this point, after 1 year, I have not had a lot of maintenance. So basically like 3 jugs of windshield wiper fluid. And I do believe I had the cabin air filter changed one time when I took it in for a service. So that's it, that's all the maintenance, nothing else. The tires are getting close, but like I said earlier in the video, I'll probably wait until just before winter, and I'm gonna look at a couple different brands and figure out what I wanna put on there. Now, as far as issues, I've talked about a few of them throughout the video, but I'll go over, a little bit of that. There's a couple weird bugs with the infotainment here and there, but the updates seem to have fixed them and they have gone away. One thing, it was an issue, but it doesn't bother me much, honestly, because I have polarized sunglasses, but there is a giant glare. I ended up actually getting this mat, which helps a lot, and if I take it off now, there's no glare. Really, it's just the glare of the black mat, which makes it really easy to see through. That is an issue. A lot of people have been complaining about that. I have this mat, and it works well for me. You could probably just cut your own if you would desire to, but I like this because it was already cut. It looks generally nice. I did accidentally throw the adhesive that came with it away, so it does move around, so I have to push it up every once in a while. That's my fault. It does come with adhesive tabs. A couple people have also gotten this mat because I recommend it. They said they trimmed it a little bit too to make it fit in a little bit more snug, and I haven't had much problem. Hopefully it's something GM can look at fixing in the future. And then really the biggest issue I had with the car that I had to take it in for service was my telematics module went bad. I'm not going to talk all about it because there's the whole video. You can go watch that. But basically the telematics went out, so I had no OnStar, no Super Cruise, no lane centering because, you know, Super Cruise is the only time I have lane centering, and also my nav didn't work. It was really annoying. Took a month to get resolved, and it is a very common issue. I'm not saying that if you get an Equinox or really any other GM product, not just the EVs, any GM product, the Super Cruise or OnStar, that you will have this problem, but it's possible. So expect it. It is covered under warranty. Hopefully it happens when you're under warranty, but it was annoying. I'm glad it's fixed. Hopefully I don't have issues with it again. So there's that. And then of course, the last issue, which I've documented a lot, I'm not going to talk about, is just the charging. They need to work on the cooling so it can charge more consistently. It's not the end of the world. You're not looking at adding, you know, hours to your charging session. You're talking 10 to 15 minutes. It's not like don't get the car because of it. And it is something that they can work on over time. And like I said, some people are already reporting with the 25 model year and other models like the Blazer and the Silverado and the Lyric and all those, and the, what is it called? Not Ionic, Optic, that they're not seeing issues that I'm seeing. So hopefully that gets fixed. You know, we'll see how that goes. One of the nice things about this car is it has updates, and I actually have received a bunch of updates, far more updates than we've ever received on our Volkswagen ID4. My last one was in April. I know there is another one out there that I'm waiting to get that fixes, like when GPS and service cutting out. So hopefully that'll fix the issues I've been having with Super Cruise maybe. But here they are. I'm not going to go through all of them, but this was the, no, where is it? Maybe it was this one. It says improves performance of charging. After that update, I didn't actually see an improvement in performance of charging, but there is another half of this update that Optic owners received that said improves performance of DC fast charging. I'm hoping I eventually get that update, or at least us Equinox owners get that update and see if that fixes my issue. But it's nice to see that they have updates and they're rolling out. It did take them a while to get them going, but once they did, they have been relatively consistent when they need to. Now I want to talk about the app. When I first got the car, and people who've had the My Chevy app or any My GM product app prior to this have talked pretty poorly about it, pretty slow, laggy, didn't work well. Well, they finally did an update a couple months ago, and honestly, the user experience in the app has gotten better, and it's not bad at all. The biggest issue I find is the features that you really want to use, like the lock and unlock the rear of the car, stuff like that. It is really laggy and it takes forever. When I lost my Kona, I got the Tesla Model S just because I wanted to live the Tesla lifestyle a little bit so I can, you know, see what it's like to have the app and have that experience. And the Tesla app, even for my car, which was the 2015, works pretty much instantaneously. So if you change something on the app, it automatically happens in the car. You unlock the doors, it unlocks the car. And with the GM products, it is not there yet. I'm not sure what they can do to speed that process up, but if they could, that'd be great. Because sometimes it's like, by the time like I'm outside and I need to get something out of my car really quick, I'll just unlock. I don't want to run in and grab my key. And I'm like, by the time I wait, I'm like, I could have went upstairs, got my key, came down, and got into my car. So hopefully they can fix it over time. But good on GM for making the app better, a much better UI, making it speedy. And one last thing with the app that I think is pretty good is the routing. If you want to like look at a route or plan a route, you can do that in the app, and it works really nice. And it's even better than the route planning in the car because you can set arrivals. Like I want to arrive at a charger with this state of charge, which you cannot do in the built-in nav, and you can get a really good picture of a route you could do. And then I believe you can send it to the car as well. I've never done that, but yeah, the routing is pretty good on the app, and I would recommend using that. And you can play around with the settings and see everything you can kind of tweak to make it work perfect for your use case. I did want to talk about also the efficiency of the car. This is a big car, it's a heavy car, it's got a lot of frontal area, the drag coefficient's okay. It is not the most efficient car in the world. When I did my 70-mile-an-hour road test, driving test, range test, I got 2.9 mile per kilowatt hour, which is not great. When we just did this road trip out west, people keep asking me about this. The speed limits were higher, 75, 80, Sometimes you had to go a little bit higher to keep up with traffic so people didn't run you off the road. And I was getting anywhere from 2.2 to 2.6 mile per kilowatt hour at higher speeds. I tend to not drive those higher speeds, but when it's supposed to speed limit, it is what it is. I've also done a test, maybe you've watched the video where I did more like commuting speeds, like 40 mile an hour average. And I was getting 3.5, 3.8, 4 mile per kilowatt hour. The range, advertised range is 319. I was getting around 340 to 350. So it really just depends on your use case. It depends on the season. It depends on so many factors. And I guess just what I want to impress you, I've been driving EVs for a while. Efficiency matters. Obviously, if a car's more efficient, it's going to be cheaper, right? But I just drive the car. I get in the car, I drive the car, I come home, I plug the car in. I don't really think about charging. I don't really think about efficiency a lot, just because as long as I have enough energy to get me home, like, I'm good, if that makes sense. Now, I know for some people who maybe don't have charging at home, that's a whole different story. And then you do want an efficient car, and you do want a car that charges consistently and stuff like that. But for me, I've been fine with the efficiency, especially with my driving. Generally, I was trying to figure this out for you all. When it's like cool to warm outside, even hot, I probably see anywhere from 3.1 mile per kilowatt hour, sometimes up to 4. On some really wonderful days when I commute, I do get even 5 miles per kilowatt hour, but that's really rare. So I would say 3.1 to 4 for slower speeds. The top speed I drive is 55 miles an hour. In the winter, it probably drops down to like 2.6 to 3 miles per kilowatt hour, which seems not great, but honestly, because I'm just driving to work and back, it's fine. It works perfect for me. And that's kind of all I can say about that, just because there's so many variables when it comes to driving. But if I were to say, who would this be good for? If you're a commuter and you can charge at home, it's going to be perfect for you. If you do need to charge out in public, it could definitely work for you, but just like consider, like, where can I charge? Can I charge at work maybe? Is there a store I go to I can charge at? Stuff like that. And that will kind of make it a little bit easier for you to, enjoy your car and not have to worry as much about the efficiency and charging. All right, everyone, so now I want to show a few tips and tricks. So you can leave the climate on by pressing the leave climate on. It'll do for 60 minutes, then it'll shut off. But if you want to camp or you have a dog and you're going to be out of your car for an extended period of time, there is a workaround. So what you do, you come into the car, you have to leave the door open, and then you press the accelerator pedal 3 times, 1, 2, 3, and then you press the brake, and it says automatic shutdown off, park in open area, and that'll leave your car on for an indefinite period of time. So if you wanted to camp in your car and leave the climate on, that's what you would do. Just make sure you lock the doors, and you can, once that's set, you can close the doors. And then if you would want to turn it off, you would just turn the car off, turn the car back on, and then that setting is no longer active. So hope you all found that helpful. So this next one, not necessarily a tip or trick, but I wanted to talk about some things I found with controls that I kind of want to have access to immediately. So if you want to turn off your lights, you got to click that and then click off. And if you want to turn it back on, you got to click auto. I'm pretty sure when you turn the car off and back on, it'll automatically go back to auto. Here you can actually see my garage opener there. This will take you to controls, but I actually like accessing it up there. And then I can do a bunch of things here. So say you got your kid in the back and they keep winding the window down and you're tired of it. That's where that is, right there, power window lockout. And then additionally, maybe you want to turn the dome lights on. I find myself wanting to do this a bunch. Right here it is. It's kind of annoying, unfortunately, that you have to go into a menu to do that, but that's how you do it, everybody. They will pop up here once they're active, typically. There's a bunch of options here now, so I can't show them all. But if you want to cancel them, you can usually cancel them here. If not, you'll go into controls, and it'll be here, and you'll unclick dome light. Or here you can see it added an arrow, click there, and then dome light off. You can also turn off one pedal driving. Sometimes I use this when I want to scoot, park as close to my garage as possible. So I'll just turn that off, I'll inch up, and then I'll put it back on. So next time I drive, I'm good to go. So that's a nice little trick there that I want to show everybody as well. One last trick I wanted to show everybody. I tested this a bunch on our road trip. It helps a little bit. If it's really, really hot outside, I'm talking 95, 100 degrees, hotter than that, and you've just charged, what you're gonna wanna do is as soon as you're done charging, you're gonna wanna turn on fast charge prep. It brings the battery down to about 31 to 33 degrees Celsius, which will give you as good a possible of charge session that you'll get for the next charge session. When you don't do that and you let the car do it on its own, it doesn't seem to trigger it fast enough, at least in my observation. And I did use OBD data to kind of prove this. And so then, you know, the battery overheats faster. So if you're gonna hit back-to-back, like consecutive charging sessions, once you're done charging, turn that on immediately so that your battery can start to cool down. All right, everybody, so now I'm gonna give some driving impressions. I wanna try and hit a couple different driving scenarios. First thing I wanna talk about is the steering ratio. The steering ratio is like crazy. Like you have to turn the wheel so many times just to turn the car. Additionally, the turning radius is 41 feet. So it's a pretty big turn radius. It kind of feels like a bigger car than it has to be. So here, I'm gonna turn left. Watch how many times I have to turn the steering wheel. So it's about one-ish, maybe a little bit more than that. And when you're at a slower speed, it feels like you're turning forever. Here, I'm gonna turn again, left, coming up to a stop. Again, really smooth ride. I love that. There's my regen. I also use my regen pedal a lot. Left turn signal. All right, now I'm going. So, yep, almost one full turn. I think before I said more than one, it was almost one full turn. For my ID4, if we made that turn, it's like, I don't know, a quarter of a turn. So definitely a lot of steering input needed when you're turning. Wish that was a little bit better, but it's all right. It's not the end of the world. It's not really something that bothers me. It is something I notice, especially in parking situations is when I notice it more, trying to park. With the ID4, you can feel like you can just kind of whip it anywhere to get into a parking spot. I have to be a little bit more thoughtful when I'm parking with this car because of the steering ratio. So I'll just do a little bit of low speed driving here, nice and quiet. To talk about actually the quietness, we did a whole road trip in the Equinox, so I'm very used to it. And then I got back in the ID4, and I don't know if my opinions changed or I didn't have a lot of experience yet, but I actually think the Equinox is a little bit quieter than the ID4 after driving so many miles in the Equinox, especially a lot at higher speeds than I typically drive. So again, it's eating up all the bumps. Here's a little hole. There we go. So yeah, pretty nice here. I'm gonna see if I can find like some sort of like real big imperfection in the road so y'all can get an impression of what that might feel like. All right, so I think I found a speed bump we can do, because unfortunately Maryland does a relatively good job keeping up roads, and so kind of like shopping centers is where you'll find the worst driving surface. So here's a little hole, handled it well. Here's a speed bump, obviously going 10 miles over. You can see I'm shaking around, but handles it pretty well. Let's check out this parking lot a little bit more, see if there's any more imperfections. It's just eating them up. Nothing too jarring. Here's a little ring, a storm drain, so I'll drive over that. I know you wouldn't normally do this, but yeah, handles it pretty well. Obviously not the best suspension in the world, but for how much this suspension is, which basically it's a $33,000 car, like that's, for EV, that's cheapish, I guess. For other cars, it's not. Yeah, I think for what you're paying, you're getting a really great ride. Honestly, probably one of the best riding cars I've ever had. Obviously, the ID4 is really good as well. It's a nice German engineered suspension, but this is really enjoyable, really comfortable. I think I said when I talked about the wheels and tires, if this had the 19s, I think they're 19s, with the thicker sidewall, it'd be even more plush of a ride. And I know people have reported that to me. These are a much smaller sidewall, a little sportier feel, a little bit more rigid of a tire because these are the self-sealing tires if they were to get punctured. But yeah, really nice drive. So now what I want to do, I want to get out onto just like a highway, the most highway we get around here, and give you my impressions about that. And then that was quite a series of events there. And then I want to show you a little bit of Super Cruise in action. Again, I'm driving, it's very quiet. Really all I'm hearing is all the imperfection of the road. The air conditioning is louder than the wind noise, especially at 46 miles an hour. When you speed it up more, I still think it's pretty true. Just a smooth ride, really comfortable. Again, just to talk about the seats while I'm driving, I'm just really comfortable right now. I could sit in this car all day. You put Super Cruise on, it's even better. Man, it really is a nice, oh, here's a little imperfection there. Handled it nicely. Wonderful. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to flip the camera around. I want to show you Super Cruise, and then I want to show you Super Cruise on a not highway road and show you how good it is. All right, everybody. So I just, again, like to keep it real. I was driving through an area on this road that I know has Super Cruise, and it did not show up on my car. So what I'm going to do first is show you the turning radius of the car here, do a little U-turn at the Royal Farms. And then hopefully on the way back, the spot that should have Super Cruise will have Super Cruise. Again, I have been seeing this happen a lot lately. Would love to see if other people have been having this issue as well. This did not always happen, so I'm thinking it's an update thing, but I'm not sure. So once this light turns green, I'll go ahead and show you the turning radius. All right, here we go. And this isn't maybe the best example, but not too bad for that. That's a nice wide kind of turning area. I will do one tighter one and show you later, but first let's see if Super Cruise decides to wake up. Let me get over into this lane. So unfortunately, Super Cruise is a little shy right now and deciding not to show up. Very weird, but like I said, I like to keep it honest. I've been noticing that a lot lately. So let me go on this B road so I can at least show you a little bit of Super Cruise. In my experience, when it allows me to turn it on, works really great. Like I said earlier, it makes driving so easy and convenient. So I'm going to go into this, what I call a B road, or back road, secondary road, whatever you want to call it, and show you that Super Cruise is actually pretty good. And they had an update come out with curves to make curves even better, and I did actually notice an improvement in its handling of curves. So let's go ahead and get to that road. So here is my great opportunity to show you the turning radius. I'm going to try and shoot for the exact same lane on the other side, and was able to get into the second. Whoa, sorry about that. Front wheel drive. I was able to get in the second lane. The ID4 can actually get in this leftmost lane. Show you a little bit of the regen. There are 3 different regen settings. You can have off, normal, and high. I tend to use normal. I did a month where I just used high to see how it was, and I thought it was a little too jerky at the end. And also, as soon as you let off, obviously if you let off a lot, it's really heavy because it's on high setting. But I don't know, I much preferred, at least for me, the normal setting. Felt really natural and coming to a slow. So we're coming up to a light here really soon where we'll get to see it in action. And obviously this whole time I've been modulating with just the accelerator pedal, letting off, slowing down a little bit, and that's why I like it. It's a little bit finer when it's on high, so you have to be real careful with how much you let off, where I think normal is a little bit more forgiving, in my opinion. I also use on the left driver side of the steering wheel for the driver, there is a regen paddle. I use that when I want to come to a complete stop. Perfect yellow light, letting off, natural, and then I'm using the regen paddle to kind of come to a complete stop. So that worked nicely. Again, I prefer normal, but put in the comments down below which setting do you like to use if you have a Chevy Equinox EV already. While we're at the stoplight, here is that regen paddle I like to use, and I use that to bring myself to a complete stop. It'll also cancel cruise control as well, which is really nice. Like if you want to turn it off but still keep your foot on the accelerator pedal, which is a nice little feature. Okay, everybody, so I actually power cycled my car. I got out, got back in, and now Super Cruise is working. So now I'm going to turn it on. I've turned it on. It's red, it's green, and now I'm hands-free, and it's working very nicely. Again, there's something weird going on with Super Cruise right now, so I'm not 100% sure why things are happening, but when it works, it's fine. Hopefully, it's just fixable with an update, and you know, it is what it is, but it's super nice. This is the most curvy road. Maybe I will go check out another curvy road for you all, but while we're here, I did want to talk about a couple things. The power is not great in this car, but it's enough to get out of its own way when you're at speed. So like when you're 45 to 65 miles an hour, if you need to kind of get out of a situation, you know, you're pretty good. Just before this video clip, I was stopped and I was merging onto a main road. When I turned, I was fine, whatever. I was accelerating. Then a car was coming at speed. I couldn't see them because there was a bend. And that's a situation where, well, now I need to push on the accelerator as much as I can so I can get up to speed and not get in this person's way. So I did that, and it was a little lethargic. I was eventually able to get out of their way. If you get the all-wheel drive, I think that kind of goes away, but for this front-wheel drive, definitely when you're going from a slower speed, 0 to 50 miles an hour and trying to accelerate, it's a little lethargic, but not the end of the world. And honestly, this has been good for me because it makes me not feel as inclined to drive, in an unsafe manner, which is always a good thing and good for, financial reasons as well. So let me go find a curvy road that has Super Cruise so y'all can see it, and then we'll end this driving impression segment. All right, everybody, so we're here. There actually is a little construction, but we'll see if Super Cruise pops up. It was working earlier, and it just showed before I put this video on, so it's showing. I'm activating it now. And it did not set yet. There we go. We'll try this again. Now it's on. And let me get up to speed, 50 miles an hour. And let's just see how it does. So this was a freshly paved road too. So it's gonna follow lines. Took that nicely. Here's a nice little bend up here. And again, I'm hands-free right now. I do have hand ready just in case. Taking a curve here. Did it nicely. See how it does with this bump. I did. Yep, did nice actually. There we go. Alright. See, that's why lane centering is important right there. The car's over the white line. Anyways, here we go. Still doing a nice job. Here's another big bend. And then I'm going to cut it and get a little bit further down the road and get one more real nice curve, show you how it handles it. But here, taking a curve, that's a pretty gentle curve, but it tackled it nicely. And this is a back road. You can see it's a back country road. And I'm super cruising, which is really nice. All right, here's a couple more bendies. Super Cruise is so active. Here is a turn lane, so handled that nicely. Didn't go in the turn lane at all, unlike that Nero in front of us. Still doing a great job, as you can see. And then we have three back-to-back little curves where in the previous iteration of Super Cruise or whatever, before I got an update for Super Cruise that said it improved turns, that the car did struggle with a little bit, and it's been performing a lot better since that update. But we're slowing down because of these cars. Okay, no big deal. We'll get back up to speed. All right, and here we're gonna have 1, 2, 3, actually 4 consecutive curves. They're not too crazy, but kind of like the elevation, and we're going downhill. Sometimes momentum, it'll want to swing out. See how it tackles this nicely. Stays in between that turn lane, slows down a little bit, takes that curve really nice. Again, my hands are off the wheel. I am covering for safety. Here's another one. Again, nicely handled. And here is the, oh, not the last one, the penultimate one. Handled that nicely as well. Avoided that turn lane. And here's the last one. So yeah, really nice job. So like I said, everybody, when Super Cruise is working, it does work well. There's something weird going on right now. So hopefully that'll resolve itself, but I'm not too concerned, as it generally worked, and we just went all the way across the country and it was fine. And we're about to go on another trip, but we're actually taking the ID4 for that. So this will have some time to rest and hopefully get some updates while I'm gone. So just my final overall impressions of the car. I really do think it's a great car, especially for the value. Again, now this is the 3LT, so it's, you know, the top trim of the 2024 model year. But I've seen some people with LTs, the base trim, or maybe they have one package added, and they love them. They really do love them. I've looked in and I've seen the materials, and you know, it's a cloth seat, but it looks pretty nice. You're basically just not getting some bells and whistles here and there, and you're getting a lot of car, a really nice car, a really comfortable car, a really great driving car for a really good price. So if you are even remotely considering getting this car, I say go for it. Go for it. Right now, there's some crazy lease deals. Like, I think I've seen people be like 90 bucks a month. It probably depends on where you live, but like really affordable lease deals. Go and do it. With some recent changes in legislation, the EV tax credit is going away. So if you want to take advantage of it while it's still here, I believe September 30th is the end date. Double check that, but I'm pretty positive it's September 30th. So go ahead, get that lease deal, get it for 2 years, 3 years, try it out, see if you like EVs, see if you like GM EVs, and I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. Hopefully I've been honest and given you a reasonable expectation for the car, and I think you're gonna like it. It's just a really nice car, and it has way too many upsides compared to the downsides to not get it, in my opinion. Again, I brought up the Apple CarPlay stuff, and I brought up the charging stuff, and if that's a make or break for you, that's fine. I respect that. Again, please don't be mad at me because I have that opinion. It's just my opinion. But I think the comfort and the drivability and the styling and, you know, the driving around town and how that feels, I don't know. I just think it's too nice of a car to pass up. Now, you know, if you're someone who likes a crazy road trip, probably not the car for you, but if you do the occasional road trip, 500-600 miles, I definitely think this would be perfect for you. I think the fact that they're actually doing updates is just such a benefit to this car, and pretty much everything is updatable, so it'll just continue to get better over time. And yeah, I think those are kind of my general final impressions about this car. So the age-old question, if I did it again, would I buy this car? For me, for my use case, I would. I like the size. It works perfect for me. If I need to like haul some stuff, it's great for my family. It is road trippable. I proved that. We drove to California and back. Is it the best EV? Absolutely not. But would I buy this again? Yes. Caveat, I miss my Kona. I miss a smaller car. I would probably prefer a smaller car. So in the future, when they come out with the new Bolt, or I think they've also rumored another affordable EV, I might be looking at those because I want to get into something a little bit smaller. I heard someone the other day call this a small car, and I was like, I don't really think it's that small a car. It's certainly not a 3-row SUV, but for what it is, I think it's a decently sized car. It's a little bit bigger than the ID4, so I don't know. That's my opinion. But I'd like to get into a smaller car. But would I buy it again? Yes. Would I recommend you to get it? Yes. All right, everybody, that is it about the 2024 Chevy Equinox EV 3LT front-wheel drive. Again, it's a really great car. It's certainly not perfect, but I think for most people, this is gonna be a great car for you. If you're someone who wants to speed across the country as fast as possible, this is not the car to do it. But if you need it for commuting or basic driving needs, or also, you know, shorter road trips, 500-600 miles, which I think is what the majority of people actually do, I think this would be fine. the charging issues will only add a little bit of extra time, whereas when we took our trip all the way across to California, it kind of added up and became more and more frustrating, whereas with the shorter road trips, it probably wouldn't even be that noticeable. So again, thank you all for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them down below in the comments. I am very responsive to comments and want to help you all make your decision or not if you are looking at the maybe a used 2024 Equinox or a later model year like the 2025 or upcoming 2026 model year. So thanks again for watching. If you haven't already, please remember to give a like, a subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I will catch you all next time.